I was scared to death.
It wasn't a person.
You are about to see real people
I knew this had to be a ghost.
reliving horrifying paranormal encounters for the first time. When spirits are provoked,
Something evil that we called.
They're not gonna stop at anything. He was coming for my soul.
I buried this for nearly 30 years.
be prepared to be afraid.
Paranormal Survivor Season 4, Branded by Evil. Interview with Ryan, take 1.
This was the first time I ever lived by myself without a roommate or partner. It just seemed like the right place to move into. Everything just seemed to fall into place at the time. It was nice, comfortable. The first time I noticed anything, I felt anything, I was gonna take a shower, and as I crossed in between the doorways, I felt this cold draft just come right through me. It was like a 10-degree deficit drop. I couldn't feel any draft coming through, nothing. I thought, something's not right here. Proceed to take a shower. And the water starts spiking. It goes from scalding hot to ice cold. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Strangest part I felt was when the water was fluctuating, I could feel a presence outside of the shower. It just felt like there was someone watching me.
Frightened by a possible presence in his home, Ryan took the matter into his own hands and bought professional equipment to investigate the paranormal activity for himself.
I knew that there was something there. So I got a EVP recorder that picks up ultra-low frequency sounds, voices that the human ear sometimes cannot pick up. I used an app on my phone. I sat there asking questions. I said, "Can you show yourself to me?" Didn't get nothing.
Ryan, who was an amateur ghost hunter, decided to press on with the questioning.
So I figured, well, the only way I'm really gonna be able to get anything is if I provoke it. Because I don't think you're strong enough. I don't think you have enough power. I think you're too weak. There's a cart in the kitchen that's got cooking pans in there. And all of a sudden I hear the sound. It was as if someone picked up that cart and slammed it on the floor. I freaked out. I think my heart stopped for about 2 seconds. I said, "Okay, I believe you. I know there's something here." Half of me was scared as hell, and the other half was reassured because I got some communication going now.
Provoking a spirit is never a good idea. You don't know if you're dealing with a good spirit or a bad spirit. So if you start provoking things you can't see, chances are they're going to get very aggressive and it can backfire on you.
Not willing to leave it alone, Ryan kept pushing the spirit for information.
Who are you?
I would ask for a name. What are you doing here? How did you pass away? dead hang and rope appeared. It made me feel a sense of sadness, a little bit of grief. I felt bad, but I was still determined to find out what was going on because I felt there was other spirits there too.
But by investigating the paranormal activity for himself, Ryan had inadvertently opened a door into an evil spirit world.
I had a dream of this demonic girl. And she bites into the side of my leg. It felt like a burning sensation, like being jabbed with a soldering iron. I woke up and I could see actual bite mark that broke the skin and blood on my leg. Most people would have packed their bags and left. But I still had that same mindset that they're not going to push me around.
What do you want from me?
I said, why did you do this to me? Yeah, I picked up a female voice.
To infect you.
And the voice says, to infect you.
To infect you.
When I heard that through the EVP recorder, I realized they're relentless. They're not going to stop at anything.
The evil entity was not done with its violent ways.
I get out of the shower and then felt a burning sensation on my shoulder. And I've got these like 4 scratch marks. It was from the backside of my shoulder here and down. You can't control being harmed, being scratched, touched, pushed by the paranormal. The strength that these entities have is beyond human strength. It was starting to take its toll.
The evil spirit in the house was not done tormenting Ryan.
I felt like there was a presence hovering over me. It had the shape of like a human, sort of, but it was all black. And then the head looked like it was, had like a horn. Next thing you know, it starts pulling me. I grabbed the side of the bed.
Let me go!
And I'm holding on as hard as I can. And it just keeps pulling me back.
No! In the name of Jesus, make this stop!
I said, Jesus, please make this stop. And then I opened my eyes and it was gone.
But it wasn't enough to banish the demonic entity.
It was as if someone was standing right next to me and in a very creepy voice says, hello. It whispers in my ear. It was a male voice. Set up my camera. If there was anything there, it's gonna pick it up. And I said,
Show yourself!
show yourself. Don't hide from me.
I'm not hiding.
And I hear this whisper. It says, I'm not hiding. I'm right here.
I'm right here.
Through the camera, I see the demonic face. It had like yellow eyes, a reddish face, and a horn. It looked like the horn of a ram, kind of curled and very big. When I saw that face, I was horrified. I was scared to death.
After provoking the spirit world, Ryan Mackey was being terrorized by evil entities. And after being repeatedly attacked, a demon was out to harm Ryan even further.
When I saw that face, I was horrified. Something that no one should experience. Something grabbed me. I never felt a force to come over me like this before. It turned my body and pulled me backwards into the shower. I was scared to death. There was a force that came over me that just, I couldn't control.
No!
His strength was, I weigh 200 pounds. It felt like something 600-700 pounds was just yanking me.
No! No!
I was like useless, you know. And I get this like burning sensation on my bicep. I look down at my arm and here's this burn mark of 2 hoof prints right in the middle of my arm.
A mark or a brand on a person shaped like a hoof usually signifies a satanic or demonic influence. They should be very worried. They're normally a target when this happens.
A demon feeds off the living. Therefore, it keeps you fearful, and it takes your energy and it keeps absorbing it, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger.
I realized that devil's coming to play for keeps, and he's got a mastermind of strategies to come and get you. He was coming for my soul.
Ryan knew he needed help.
The next day, I went to church. The Archdiocese suggested that I go to 10 masses and receive the body and blood of Jesus, go to confession, pray the rosary.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
The holy water I would douse throughout my apartment in hope of getting whatever's here cleansed out.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
And then at nighttime, I would pray the rosary.
Blessed art thou among women, blessed art the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Within days, Ryan experienced a remarkable transformation.
2 balls of light come over me, 2 circles. And they're getting brighter and brighter and brighter. They're about 12 inches above my body. And it felt this energy go right through me, through my whole body. And it was probably the most amazing feeling I ever felt. It was there to let me know that everything's gonna be okay. It was an unconditional love that went right through me. I believe that Jesus paid me a visit. And I felt like a newborn person. After that moment, it felt like the place was cleansed. It was like a brand new home. Didn't have to worry about anything, any unexplained noises or voices or seeing anything. No more walking on eggshells.
Evil spirits sometimes lie in wait, lurking for a chance to appear. And if accidentally provoked, they can unleash pure terror.
Lisa's cursed for our house. Story 23, take 1.
I was about 8 years old when we moved into the farmhouse. I was excited about it until we started going to school. People would say, oh, you live in that haunted house, you live in that scary house. I would notice stuff was just never where you put it.
Can't find my hammer. Any ideas?
Whether it was a hammer or a screwdriver, shovel, pitchfork, just anything.
Play with my tools again?
So it was always who touched them and who did what with them. We would always say, not me, not me.
Are you sure?
My dad would say, well, who did it then? And we started saying, well, Emily did it. And I don't know where that name came from. It was just, well, Emily did it.
The strange activity could not be explained, and soon Emily became more than just a name.
One time, my friend and I saw a little girl in the upstairs window. The little girl had dark hair, and she had a white dress on. And that made me feel like Emily was really there. I don't think that she was threatening. I think, if anything, she was sad and playful, that she wanted to play more. Everything that happened was odd and strange. It was not menacing or evil or anything like that.
But by uttering Emily's name out loud, Lisa had inadvertently provoked the spirit.
The basement is the one place in the house that I didn't really like to hang out for long periods of time. Sometimes you would feel like out of the corner of your eye, you might see something moving and you look and it would be nothing.
There was a reason for the creepy feeling.
And my dad said that he had heard that there was someone that hung themselves in the basement.
And the basement held more terrors in store.
Our dog, Buffy, had puppies, and it was colder. So we brought Buffy and her puppies, put her in the basement so they wouldn't be out in the cold. One of Buffy's puppies ended up in the sump pump and drowned.
Mom!
The sump pump actually had a room around it, a little door that we usually always kept closed. So it was just really bizarre that the puppy ended up in the sump pump basin and drowned. It's almost like, who did it? It wouldn't be something that it would seem that Emily would do.
That wasn't the only troubling and unexplained animal death.
And then it just got creepier and creepier the more animals that we got. One of the horses that was being boarded, it was Tony the pony, a black and white pony. I went out to feed them in the morning before school.
Daddy!
Lisa Norris and her family were experiencing strange activity at their farm after accidentally provoking a spirit by calling its name. And it had only escalated, resulting in the terrifying deaths of their beloved pets.
One of the horses that was being boarded, it was Tony the pony, a black and white pony. I went out to feed them in the morning before school. And Tony the pony was on the ground, and I couldn't get him to get up. And, I went screaming. and he was dead was really frightening for me, because how did he die? We don't know.
When animals start to die, farm animals, pets, any animals on the property, usually that can be a sign of demonic entity.
The strange deaths were disturbing enough, but then Lisa's mother was affected as well, hearing voices calling out her name.
She kept on hearing, Judy, Judy. My mom thought it was my dad upstairs.
Charles!
And when she got upstairs, no one was up there. I think that she kind of thought that my dad was playing a trick on her or something, but then it would happen when he wasn't even at home. And I think over time it just kind of weared on her, like she didn't want to have to deal with this anymore.
Afraid of what might happen if they stayed in the home, the family decided to move out, though not everyone was happy about the decision.
My dad, I don't think, really wanted to leave the farm. He wanted to probably stay there, but, you know, with my mom and how she was feeling, he wanted to make her feel more comfortable.
After moving out, the family's paranormal troubles stopped. Lisa didn't return to the old farmhouse for 30 years, but when her father passed away, she was overwhelmed by a strange desire to go back.
I contacted the city and found out that it had been vacant for a while. It was going up for tax auction, and so I registered for the tax auction and bought it.
Almost as soon as Lisa moved back in, the strange, old feelings returned.
I would feel the coldness. Sometimes I would feel like I saw things moving out of the corner of my eye. I didn't like to be by myself there. The basement did not feel good at all when I went back. It felt the same way. It felt claustrophobic. I'm not really sure what was scaring me so much, or if it was just like in my head. You know, the idea of being there by myself, and because it is kind of isolated, that if I screamed, no one would hear me, that made me feel scared.
Frightened, Lisa contacted paranormal investigator Todd Bonner and his team.
Todd Bonner.
Hey, Lisa.
When Lisa reached out to me, I knew about the house because I grew up in the area. And so growing up as a kid, the house looked creepy. And so we always thought it was haunted. Our psychic, Annie, she immediately picked up Emily.
I see a little girl. She's wearing a white dress. Her name is Emily.
I never told Todd and Annie Emily's name, but they were able to tell me that she said her name was Emily.
I think she's in the basement. Yeah.
Sometimes we've noticed that a malevolent spirit will take the form of a child or someone that could gain your trust and then kind of wreak havoc. It kind of concerned me that it might not be a little girl at all.
The team headed to the basement.
The feeling I got in the basement of the farm was almost like you're on a ship that's rocking. And I started getting anxiety. You know, all of us felt like a heaviness, a tension. I could feel my heart racing. And usually when we feel that way, or I feel that way, it's usually something negative. When you have a playful spirit, you don't feel that heaviness. It almost feels like it's hard to breathe. And then we start hearing things getting thrown in the kitchen, because the basements are out the kitchen. You can hear things getting thrown. And then 1 second later, the smell started like a dead animal or something. It was just, it overwhelmed me. It was like a pungent smell of death. Annie was able to pick up that there was a suicide in the basement. It was a male, 30 years old, that had lived in the house. And that's when we heard a laugh, a male, it was a sinister laugh, like chuckled when she said there was suicide in the basement. We kind of realized we're probably not dealing with something that's pleasant to laugh at something like that.
Who are you? What do you want?
We asked, what's your name? How long have you been here? What's your purpose here? Can you tell us, are you sad, angry, or happy? It started to focus on me. It didn't say, Todd, we want you to stay. It didn't want me to leave.
What do you want with Todd?
And he said, Todd is not staying. Leave Todd alone. And then I got aggressive, started using profanity, called Annie names, calling Annie evil. It was loud. It definitely knew what it wanted. And it wasn't afraid to say what it wanted. Didn't care what it said. And then Annie said she felt Emily. And you could see a figure. It looked like a little girl.
After 30 years away, Lisa Norris had moved back to her childhood farmhouse. With the home still haunted, Lisa had called in outside help, but it only resulted in further provoking a horrifying entity.
I could feel it like on me, almost. Like it was, like my neck and back started hurting, and sickness I felt. I mean, I actually felt like throwing up. And then 1 second later, it was gone.
Come on, let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's go. Come on, let's go.
What Todd told me is that he just couldn't take it anymore, that he just felt they should abort what they were doing because he did not want it to escalate any further.
After such a terrifying encounter, the paranormal team would normally have conducted a cleanse. But Annie had picked up on one spirit that she knew Lisa would not want removed from the house.
Annie did also describe a man that was kind of gruff and sarcastic.
Does the name Chuck or Charles mean anything to you? That's my dad. I don't want you to worry. He's watching over you.
Lisa seemed more at ease, maybe thinking her father's there watching.
Todd and Annie said that because my dad had enjoyed living there and being with his family at that property, that's where his spirit would go to. That explained the reason why I was very drawn to go back to the house because of my dad. After Todd and Annie left, I felt more at peace. When I enter my house now, I don't have any kind of fear or anything like that, because even if there was an evil presence there, my dad is probably keeping it in check.
Spirits can be provoked in many ways. Sometimes it's through the use of a spirit board, which can lead to horrifying consequences.
Deadly Dreams. Interview with Marina Duarte. Take 1. Marking.
I was about 13, and we moved into an apartment in the big city in Sao Paulo. I was happy to be moving into the city. I was close to starting high school, so it was all perfect.
But that perfect feeling would not last long.
My mother, she thought it would be funny. Oh, why don't we play with the spirit board? My sister, went along with it. She's like, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's go along with it. Let's do it. And I was not in favor of it. I was kind of hesitant.
It's just get your sister. It's really fun. Get her.
Then, kind of got pressured into it, and we played with it. Yeah. I just felt that I was always a little bit more sensitive than other people. Sometimes I could feel things that other people wouldn't feel. I thought playing that spirit board would not be a good thing. Something good would not come out of it.
Is there someone here? Oh my gosh, it's moving. This is so much fun.
As we started to play with the board, the little block that they were using to point to the letters started to move on its own. I started to feel very scared. I started to feel very uneasy. I just felt like something bad was in the room with us, something very negative. I heard a growl. My sister and my mother did not hear it. It was just me. I was very angry, like a dog that wants to attack. It was right beside me, right next to me, right close to my face. I felt completely terrified.
Marina Duarte and her family had used a spirit board, inadvertently provoking a threatening entity. And that eerie spirit was making its presence known.
I heard a growl. I was very angry, like a dog that wants to attack. It was right beside me, right next to me, right close to my face. I felt completely terrified.
What's going on? Why are you screaming? What happened?
I started to cry immediately, like panicking.
There's nothing there.
I guess at that point, my mother realized that it was a mistake. They shouldn't have played that game. She threw it out. When I look back at this experience, I interpret what I heard that day as something bad, something evil that we called. We had fooled around with something we shouldn't have.
It can be dangerous to play with a spirit board because often rogue spirits that are wandering around looking for ways to come in and influence you, will use a spirit board to communicate with you.
Marina's experience with the spirit board had left her constantly feeling anxious and afraid.
I started to feel in the apartment as if I was never alone, as if something was always there with me, watching me. And I kind of tried to ignore it. So as I'm going to bed, lying down, all of a sudden, I start to feel very scared. And it's this feeling that I can't explain. You just can't move, you can't talk. It's just you're frozen. I started to hear very, very, as if it's far away, a woman crying. And as I'm listening, the noise gets closer and closer to the point where it was as if this woman was standing right beside me, right next to me, and crying right into my ear. And I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, and I just froze. I couldn't even open my eyes because I was scared of opening my eyes and actually seeing something. I was terrified. And then all of a sudden, I just had the courage to yell for my mom.
Mom! Mom! Mom!
And at that point, my mom came running.
Marina,
I was crying. I was quite hysterical. And I told her what happened.
it's just a nightmare.
Once she calmed me down, she walked me into her room because I didn't want to stay in my room. So from that point on, my mother got me a little bed and I was sleeping in her room at the foot of her bed.
The strange feeling in the apartment soon escalated into something far more sinister.
My family, since generations, grew up being very Catholic. We have a cross in every room of our house, so I grew up with a very, very religious family. I used to keep a lot of religious statues, Jesus, Mary, saints. One morning, I went into my room to change for school. And I look up where my statues were, and almost all of my statues, the heads were broken off.
An evil spirit might break or hide religious artifacts in a home that they're haunting because they want you to know that they're mocking your faith. They're trying to get under your skin.
Marina! Marina, what's happening?
I called my mom and dad right away. They came into my room and they couldn't believe it. They were in shock. Whatever it was, I believe, was trying to send us a message that they didn't want us there or they were trying to hurt us.
Let's go, guys. Let's go.
I felt like maybe there was something even demonic in the house.
Marina would not be the only one in the family to experience the frightening paranormal activity.
My sister moved into the apartment to live with us with her son. He was about 6 months at the time. One night, my sister and I were up late watching TV. My parents were sleeping, and my nephew Louis was sleeping in his little bassinet in my sister's room. All of a sudden, we heard somebody singing. The singing that my sister and I heard was a woman, and it was the same voice of the woman crying that I heard. And it seemed like it was coming from my nephew's room. So as we walked closer to the room, we could almost hear as if somebody was rocking the bassinet and singing. The singing escalated when we approached the room. As soon as we went into the room, the singing stopped.
Is the baby okay? Yeah, it's okay.
My sister Lily was quite terrified because whatever it was now interacting with her son. I believe this all could be possibly related to playing with that spirit board, because after we played with that, I always had a bit of an uneasy feeling.
The terrifying incident was chilling, but soon things would get even worse.
Marina. Mom?
When I get home from school, I heard my mom calling my name from the bedroom.
Mom?
Marina. As if she's happy to see me. And I ran to the room.
Hey, Mom.
I just thought it was strange when I got to the room and she wasn't there.
Mom?
When I heard that voice, I felt very scared, terrified. because I couldn't explain what it was. When I look on the fridge, on the door, there's a note from my mom saying that she went to the doctor's with my dad. All of a sudden, the phone rings.
Hello?
I pick up the phone, all I hear is static, like electricity. Thought maybe the phone's not working well, and I hang up. When I realized I was completely alone, I felt very scared. Very scared, which at that point I just thought, you know what? I'm not gonna think too much about it. I'm just gonna grab my dinner, warm it up, and go to the TV room, close the door, put the TV really loud, and hopefully my parents will come home soon. All of a sudden, something started to kick the door, as if it's trying to break it down really hard. This is physically trying to break down a door. So if it can do that to the door, what could it do to me? The door just all of a sudden opened, and at that point, I ran into my mom's room.
After playing with a spirit board, Marina Duarte had unleashed an evil being. And now the spirit was angry and determined to inflict terror.
This is physically trying to break down a door. So if it can do that to the door, what could it do to me? The door just all of a sudden opened, and at that point, I ran into my mom's room. And I grabbed the rosary that was by her night table, and I just started to pray really loud.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
But the praying did little to dissuade the evil spirit.
Our Father who art...
Once I started to pray, the activity got really violent. It's almost like it got angry that it didn't want me to do that. It was almost as if there was a tornado inside the apartment. Like the doors were literally opening, closing, and the taps were opening and closing.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed by thy name. Our kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
I felt terrified. I don't think I've ever felt so scared in my life. To be in that situation, it's awful because you feel like you're being attacked by something that you can't see.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
When everything stopped, I felt a bit relieved, but still not safe.
After her frightening experience, Marina's parents took action.
The next day, we spoke to a priest. He was quite taken back. He was quite shocked. The priest decided to bless the apartment because he believed that this would accomplish a protection. I felt at peace. I felt like I was protected. But I also felt like my parents had finally come to the decision that I wanted, which was to move. I believe the spirit board played a role where it just opened up a door that shouldn't have been open. You shouldn't mess with those things. If I could give anyone advice on using spirit boards or thinking of using it, I'd say don't use it. Don't. because you're just opening a whole can of worms that you do not want to get into.